You're watching the DC edition of News Channel 8. From News Channel 8, this is Capitol Insider with Morris Jones.
The economy is the hottest topic in the 2012 election. The country seems to be full of back and forth bickering. Even the president's picked date for the speech next week became a spat between the White House and House Republicans. A date is now, of course, on the books, but after the speeches and the debate, the real work will begin. It all centers around fixing the economy and bringing jobs back. Joining me tonight is Ryan Clayton, Democratic strategist and founder of 100proofpolitics.com. On the Republican side is Ford O'Donnell, GOP strategist at Civic Next. Ryan, we were just talking there about the president's speech coming up this next week. What does he have to deliver in this speech Thursday?
Well, first of all, let me say that President Obama really needs to man up and grow a pair when he's dealing with Speaker Boehner and the Republicans in the House, who seem to be tossing him around and slapping him around and disrespecting him. He needs to stand up to those people, just like he stood up to the Tea Party caucus in the Republican House, and say, what we need right now is not more cuts. What we need right now is jobs in America, and we have to create a jobs program that puts Americans back to work, because that's going to be the best way to grow ourselves out of this debt crisis. And if we keep cutting, we're going to end up, turning this Tea Party recession into the second Great Depression, and I don't think anybody in America wants that.
Well, couldn't you say, though, that the president needs to compromise, too, with the House Republicans, and maybe giving a little on the speech date was maybe his effort at doing that?
Yeah, I think he's done enough compromise, and, eventually when you take a compromise with a good idea and compromise it with a bad idea, like a lot of the Republicans have offered, giving tax cuts to millionaires and big corporations who have tons of money already, then what you get is a pretty average or bad idea. And I think that's exactly what we got out of the debt crisis. What we needed back then is the same thing we need now. We need a jobs program that puts Americans directly back to work, so that people have money in their pockets willing to spend, so they can go out into local businesses and support local businesses and get our economy going again.
Okay, Ford, is there anything the president can say in this speech that's going to appease the GOP, or that the GOP really wants to hear here?
I think the GOP would like to see him take a little bit more of a leadership role, and I think one of the things they'd like to hear is that he's going to bring about tax reform, consider entitlement reform, and sort of relax some of the regulations that are really hurting business, because in a lot of ways the reason why employers are not out there hiring, I think, and a lot of small businesses aren't booming, is because essentially there's uncertainty with regard to risk. And I think if we can sort of get some sort of tax reform and put it out there, I think we're going to get more people to work. And I don't really think that it's one party or the other. Look, we're both guilty. We didn't just get here yesterday, okay? We got here over 30 years based on compromise by political convenience. And what we need to do is come together with compromise, wise compromise. I think you'd agree with me on that, Ron.
How do you think the GOP would react to the president suggesting, although he probably wouldn't call it stimulus, some sort of spending programs, maybe in combination with some of those things you just mentioned?
Well, I think that a lot of the folks on my side of the aisle would say that that's a little bit of a short-term fix, and that does not fix our long-term problem, and that comes back to uncertainty and what we're going to do with the economy, particularly with regard to tax reform. I mean, we really need to close a lot of the tax loopholes and make sure that employers and individual taxpayers know what they're paying. If they do that, there will be more confidence in the economy, and I think that's the number one thing we're seeing out there.
Okay, Ryan, we looked at a recent poll that said most people said they still like the president as a person. His approval, though, very low on the economy. Do you think he can use the personal high scores there in this election to his benefit? Will it be enough?
Yeah, I mean, Americans love President Obama. He is a great leader. He's an inspiring leader, and he's a great speaker. What he needs to do is put his his money where his mouth is now, and he needs to take all these great ideas he's had when he ran for office and actually implement them, and deliver on his promises. And when he does that, the people are going to stand up and stand behind him. The problem he has right now is he keeps on compromising with these ridiculous people in the House, the Tea Party caucus and things like that. And what happens is you take really good ideas that he had, that people voted for him to implement those ideas, and then you compromise them with bad ideas, and you get average, mediocre ideas that are not going to solve our problems. But I think when he does actually fix problems, people are going to support him, and I trust this president to fix our problems.
Ford, is the president's personality and likability going to be enough this election?
It's certainly keeping him afloat, and it's certainly keeping him afloat with independents, Hispanics, and women. I mean, he definitely personifies the best in American exceptionalism. I think the GOP is going to have to recognize that, just putting a candidate up there is not going to be enough. You're going to have to tap into that likability factor. You just can't present a plan. You're going to have to present a plan that resonates with people across, broad swath of demographics, particularly in the battleground states of Florida, Nevada, and Colorado.
All right. Gentlemen, it was a brief debate here, but we appreciate your time joining us tonight.